Namaste. Uh, Today I am going to talk about Dr. Verghese Kurien, the milkman of India, who was responsible for the upliftment of the poorest of the poor in the rural India. He was born on 26th November 1921 at Calicut, presently in Kerala state. After his graduation as mechanical engineer from Loyola College, Madras, he was offered a job in Tisco with the influence of his uncle, which later he came to know, and he refused to continue at Tisco, which was a very good company for a youngster to start with. Later on, he continued his higher studies under the government scholarship at Michigan State University, USA. He studied about milk processing and came back. There was a mandatory 5 years service after completion of the post-graduation, after returning to India, as per the posting of the government. So, he was posted to one of the units in Gujarat, where milk processing was there from the government side. That was a small government dairy, and it was there at Gujarat, Anand, where he came in contact with Mr. Tribhuwan Patel. He landed in Gujarat, Anand, in 1949. So, Tribhuwan Patel was leading the movement against the Polson milk, who was a Parsi permitted by the British government then to export milk to Mumbai for Bombay milk scheme. He was running the scheme, running the milk business on a monopoly basis, and he was not allowing anybody to get into the business, and he had, to the extent possible, made a policy and order by the government of Mumbai that nobody should compete with Polson milk and nobody can collect and sell the milk in Mumbai market. So, that actually made the minds of the milk producers that they should unite together and fight against this monopoly. He was not collecting the milk or purchasing the milk from the farmers in the flush season, because the demand was less or the milk production was more. So, the farmers have to find alternative to sell their milk, and during the off season he was demanding milk, but they did not have milk. There was no price remunerative to the farmers, and he was trying to take all the benefits that the farmers were to be given. Then Tribhuwan Patel was the leader in this particular Anand, and he was leading that particular Patel community who were more into the milk business or milk production business. Kurien was instrumental in repairing the equipments which Tribhuwan Patel owned. So, that is how they came into contact. Actually, Kurien was living next door to the dairy unit which Tribhuwan Patel was running, and whenever these machines broke down, Dr. Kurien used to attend these repairs, and finally one day he said, why can't you buy new machines instead of repairing these old machines every time, which are becoming very costly, and even after repair they are coming, it is not worth that to continue with those machines. Then Tribhuwan Patel agreed to his suggestion, but he was not finding sufficient funds to purchase the machines. He said, why can't you purchase why can't you get the funds from Ministry of Agriculture or the government of Gujarat or wherever possible. So, he could not succeed in that. Then Kurien was introduced in this government system, and he was not happy with the system that is existing, exploiting the farmers. So, that actually opened his eyes. He said, there is a lot of exploitation of the farmers and we cannot continue this system. I want to get rid of this. So, he wrote to the government stating that you please relieve me and I want to do my own job. The government, because he was very strict and not following the government directions at all the 100% level, they also said, okay, you get rid of this, fine, we will relieve you. But when he went to meet Tribhuvan Patel and convey that he is quitting this place, Anand, and he wants to pursue his desire, then Tribhuvan Patel said, you have been right hand to me in supporting our dairy farm. Dairy machinery is repairing and suggesting us good things. Why can't you stay back and support us? We are supporting the farmers, and in turn you will be supporting the farmers who are really down to earth and very, very poor. After some persuasion, Dr. Kurien agreed that okay, I will continue. You may be surprised at the remuneration that he got. The government was giving him remuneration of 1,000 rupees at that time, 1949 to 1954, and the dairy was giving him something like 400 rupees. But Tribhuvan Patel said, I cannot afford that because we don't have sufficient funds to give good salary, but later on definitely we will make and see you that you get good salary for your work. For a mere 200 rupees salary, he started working with Dr. Tribhuvan Patel. That is where the total scenario of the Anand changed. So, what to do with excess milk during the flush season? That was the question in the mind of Tribhuvan Patel as well as Dr. Kurien. Then Dr. Kurien went to study the milk processing in Switzerland. Switzerland is the native of Nestle brand. So, all over the world they rule, they are based at Switzerland. Then when he went for training on milk processing, he urged the Nestle management that you should stop the dumping of milk powder, then canned milk in India. So, that was the threat actually he gave to Nestle. Then they said, we cannot depend on the, Nestle said, we cannot depend on the processing done by the natives, and we cannot allow the natives to process the milk. It will be difficult for us to place it in the market, and it will not be possible. So, that opened the eyes of Dr. Kurien to think of how we can make canned milk and milk powder. But the question was, all these processes in milk to make milk powder or canned milk or condensed milk was purely based on the cow milk. Now, the milk collected in Anand was majorly it was buffalo milk. So, this process need to be authenticated from any dairy technologist in the world. They approached one technologist in New Zealand. He said it is not possible to make milk powder with buffalo milk. During this time actually Dr. Kurien came in contact with his classmate who was his classmate in Michigan State University, Dr. Dalaya. And Dalaya was given the task that why can't you prepare milk powder with buffalo milk. And Dr. Kurien and Dalaya got together and they succeeded in the experiment of making milk powder with buffalo milk. That was the greatest moment of joy for Dr. Kurien. Wherever we met him, he used to say that when we ask about which is the greatest period of your achievements, he said getting milk powder from buffalo milk was the greatest moment of my life. So, that was what he was expressing whenever we asked him. That was really an enjoyment and eye opener to the whole of the world that you can make milk powder with buffalo milk. So, that was the strong stepping stone for the Amul. Then the process started. After Dalaya came into the picture, they started working on the machineries that are required for setting up the dairy plant. Now, the question of funds started. How do we came? How do we get the funds for these dairy plants? Then they started getting the funds from UNICEF. UNICEF was funding for nutrition programs, and under the nutrition program, so they got the funds to India and Amul. So, they set up a small plant there. After that the things that developed were very historical ones. In after 1960, I would say, actually the pictures changed. In 1965, our Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri, he visited Amul. Actually, he visited Anand Milk Union Limited. So, was the initial name that was set. So, Amul is the short form of Anand Milk Union Limited. Now, if he wanted to understand why the cooperatives or the milk business fail in other places and why it is successful in Gujarat Anand, then he wanted to understand the basics and what is happening at the micro level. So, as a Prime Minister, he wanted to stay with the farmers, understand how the process is taking place. Then Kurien said, you cannot come with your paraphernalia of security force, because the village itself where you are visiting itself is having less than the population of what you will be imbibing, or what the people follow you to the village. So, it will be very less than that, and you will not get the required basic necessities or needs in the village. Number 2, the villagers cannot provide halting facilities to all your staff, and I cannot create from my Amul or dairy. So, I cannot create that. Then Shastriji agreed, and after coming to Anand, he dispersed all his convoy and security, and he followed whatever the orders given by Dr. Kurien. So, they went to a village nearby. They attended the milk collection in the evening. Then they interacted with the farmers, and Shastriji very interestingly heard to the lifestyle of the farmers, how they rear the animals, what they feed the animals, and how they milk the animals, and what are the problems that they are facing currently. Shastriji stayed in the village itself, and early morning they started thinking, how we can improve the milk collection system in India. And after discussion, they attended the morning milk collection also. The farmers very early in the morning, they brought the milk to the particular point, and they it was a small place where they were collecting milk. So, they poured the milk and then they dispersed to their farm activities. So, that was a very good eye opener for the society, Dr. Shastriji. So, Shastriji told what it will take to multiply the same system in India other places in India. Then Dr. Kurien said beautifully, I should read it for you. And what is the difference between the other dairy business and the Anand pattern? Dr. Kurien politely said, the solitary difference was that the Amul dairy was established and managed by the farmers themselves. The elected representatives among the farmers manage the society or the milk collection unit. Then elected representative has employed me as professional manager to run the dairy. I am an employee of the farmer. So, if this power is given to me, then we can replicate all through the India. So, that was the fantastic reference given to Shastriji by Dr. Kurien. You know, he was very humble and he was given, he is down to the earth, and he said, you know, I am employee of the farmer. Nobody wants to say that. So, he said, I am employee of the farmers, I am working for the farmers. This is a farmers organization. Just to link it, I was at IRMA during 1993 and 94 doing my MBA. We happened to meet Dr. Kurien about 3 to 4 times. While interacting with him for the first time in 93 February, he said, you know, I have told the director and the staff of IRMA to include the word rural wherever possible in the curriculum. So, when you study at IRMA, you have about 6 to 7 subjects which take you to the rural area, rural economy, rural management, rural development. So, all these are the courses that you come across while you study at IRMA doing MBA. You know, these are very essential to imbibe that concept of rural in the mind of the young managers. Now, how this IRMA was started, you know, 1979 I think. So, there was shortage of professionals in the field of dairy management. Then he thought, you know, like other IITs, IIMs, why we should not start one professional college for the rural managers. He thought from 2 angles. One, the existing employees of the cooperatives should be trained in the college to update their skills, and sorry, the new graduates who want to serve the rural population should also be trained in the rural management skills. So, in this way actually it is 50% rural management practicals and 50% class oriented. So, that is the course started by Dr. Kurien in 1979 IRMA, and I was fortunate that, you know, to have studied in that institute and having interaction with Dr. Kurien many times. And another thing he was always stressing, farmers do not understand economy wise what I should do to better my life. We as managers should be in a position to advise them that this is good and this will be the future, or this is bad and you should not indulge in these things. The rural politics is part of the rural system. Now, if you go with the rural politics, you will be assigned to one party, and many times you will be badged that you are with this party or that party. Whenever as an official, as a professional, when I go to a village, I should always say I am in the party of rural management, I am in the party of farmers organization. I am not assigned to any of the parties which are politically motivated or activated, which can kill or which will kill the economy of the country. So that is what he was telling. I don't want to bow to any of the Babus. That was his concept, and that was what he was saying when we met. And most of the time, whether he was in office or he is out of office, he is always thinking about the farmers, how I can better the systems. Now, with the induction of National Dairy Development Board in 1965 to multiply or replicate the system of Anand or Amul all over India, he was made the chairman of that NDDB, National Dairy Development Board. He put forth two conditions to our Prime Minister, Sri Shastriji. One thing, it should be away from the capital or capital of the country or any state. Number two, it should be established in Anand, and no government interference in the administration of National Dairy Development Board. So they passed a legislation in Parliament stating that it will be an autonomous body. So that was the power of Dr. Kurien to establish an organization with power to replicate all over the world. Now, after establishment of the NDDB, now the demand started coming. Why can't you replicate in Sri Lanka? Why can't you replicate in Soviet Union? Why can't you replicate in Pakistan? The prime ministers and presidents of those countries, they called up Dr. Kurien and requested them for the replication in those countries. He very politely said, give me full power, I will do it. But later on in 1996 or 98, NDDB tried replication in Sri Lanka with much less success. But later on, now the country Sri Lanka is in poor stage. So they want to replicate it again and start with the base level of agriculture to support the farmers. I remember one thing, Dr. Kurien always said, whenever he visited the local milk unions or milk federations, he used to encourage the those units. He never said that Amul is the number one, so Amul should always stand as number one, and I always support Amul. No, he never said that. He happened to visit Karnataka Milk Federation during its Silver Jubilee celebration in 2002, I think. So he visited Bangalore Dairy. Then Bangalore Dairy was actually completely renovated and new dairy had come up, 10 lakh liters per day. He had written in the visitors book, I would like to see Karnataka Milk Federation overtaking Amul shortly. So that was the wordings he wrote in the visit book. That was the confidence he wanted to build in among the managers working in Karnataka Milk Federation and Bangalore Dairy. See the magnanimity of a person who has built Amul by his own hand and GCMMF with his own hand. He wants give an opportunity to somebody who is coming up. In 2002 or 3, he had visited Dakshin Kannada Milk Union in Mangalore also. He advised the board of directors. He had understood that among all the board of directors in Karnataka and boards in Karnataka, Dakshin Kannada Milk Union board was bit better working and they work in the interest of the farmers. He said, you leave the political link when you sit here. You leave the political link when you sit here, and you link to the farmers when you sit here, and the farmers will get what they want and the farmers will flourish. That is what he uttered by sitting at the board of directors hall. So that shows that there is little political link that need to be de-linked to succeed in the farmers organization. Now rural development was in his blood. He always advised the farmers that what you want, you tell me. I will try to get what you want. Now in the milk business, the initial phase, farmers were getting sufficient fodder and cattle feed, whatever they want at the village level itself. When the population increased, getting fodder and cattle feed sufficiently to the population, and also the veterinary facility was becoming difficult. Then he started, the cooperatives should start the veterinary facility, the fodder providing to the farmers, and cattle feed to be provided at a very reasonable price. He wanted to avoid the middleman in all his activities, whatever he does. Milk was the first thing. He don't wanted any middleman to take the advantage or profit from the farmer's business. So, he avoided the middleman from the business. So, when you avoid the middleman, almost 70 to 80% of the market realization